Today we're going to look at using Excel to split up data that you have received that is not in a Excel-friendly format. So here's the first example of data that we've received. Maybe we got this in an email or a Word document, but you can see it's just a list with commas in between each name that we have received of a list of project. So when we paste this into Excel, I'm just going to open up this column so it's easier to see. This pastes in like this, which of course is not useful. If we want this in Excel, we're going to probably want each person's name in their own cell. And we might even want to split out the project, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So we can do this with text to column. So if we highlight that column and we go to text to column and we go to delimited, and then we go over here, this always defaults to tab. We're going to use comma because that's what's in each of these. I want to split out the project from the name. So if we just do comma, as you can see here in this example, it is only going to split out the names and it's going to leave the first name with the project because there's a colon there, there's no comma. So that is not going to work. Then we're going to, so what we're going to do instead is add the colon. So that splits out that. Now, what you'll see is when we do this, let's go ahead and do this and we hit finish. You'll see that this has preceding spaces in it because there was a comma and then there's a space. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. Before we split it, we can remove the spaces. So we could do, replace comma and space with just comma. That would be one way to do it. So that remove those spaces. And when we split this out, there will be no more spaces. We'd also have to obviously do colon and space and replace that with colon. And you'll see that will remove that space as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little different. We're going to add another little tip here on some data formatting. So let's go ahead and resplit this the way we were before. So text to column, delimited. It comes up with, we had already done this before, so it's coming up with the same thing. And we're going to go to finish. So this now has preceding spaces, which is obviously not what we want. So again, with this being that there is only first names in here, there's no extra spaces needed. So we can go ahead and remove all the spaces at once, again, with like a replace function, or we can use a trim function. So if this was, Lisa Smith in here, we would not want to remove all of the spaces because then Lisa Smith would be put together. We want to do what's called trim the spaces. So if we're going to come over here and we're going to put trim, and then we're going to select that cell. Oh, I hit the backspace by mistake. And then we're going to copy this down. So we're going to go 3 over and 3 down because that's what our data's in. Oh, like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy and we're going to paste special values. So there's multiple ways to paste this with values. But what this will do is remove the actual formula so that when we delete this, and we put it back, so we're going to delete the original data, delete this extra column, it's still there. If we had not done paste special values, that would have been, these would be errors right now. So that's one way to split that out. So that's a pretty simple, what's called a comma delimited list that's being split out. Now let's look at another set of data. So here we have a set of data that is what we call pipe delimited. So this is a number of pieces of data. You can see it's got pipes in here. These are these little things that stand up and down. These are what we call pipes. And this data needs to be split out in order to be useful. So I'm going to copy this over. So Control C. I'm going to paste it into a new tab. Actually, I'm going to open up a completely new workbook here. It's automatically splitting the data out for me because I've already split data out in that workbook. But in order to show you how this works without that happening automatically, to show you this in a new work. So I have the new workbook open. I'm going to paste it in. And as you can see, this is not really in a usable format. So all of this data, that's a header. Let's actually look at a piece of data here. All of this data, it's actually multiple rows of data in the address bar, are in here in one cell. So obviously that's not useful. We can't really do anything with that. So we're going to delimit this, and we're going to put this text to column using the pipe. So if we go to data again, text to column, we want to do delimited. We want to do other. I always like to remove tabs so you can see, before I do anything, it does not look like it's going to do anything. It's going to split anything out, but just in case, there should be no tab in this at all, this data that I've received, but I always remove that. Now what I've done is shift, and then for mine it's the backslash, which is a pipe. So that's a little thing. It looks like an I, but it's actually called a pipe. And then I could just click finish, but I'm going to click next and then finish. It's the same thing. One of the things on that though, if I just go back for 2 seconds, to text to column, go back to delimited, is there are sometimes, if especially if you know the data, you may want to format the data as you process it. So when you go to text to column, for example, it looks like this column here is a date field. I could change this and convert this into a date field. I'm not going to though. I'm going to do that after the fact. It is just, I find it's better, especially when you're receiving data that you haven't really seen before, you've never really done. It's better just to see it in its raw format and then reformat it from there. Sometimes it will be reformatted automatically. You can see this actually got reformatted. This before was 1951, I think dash 04 dash 09. This has been reformatted automatically, but there's other things that, again, you might go back and look at it and say, you know what, zip, I want to do that as a text because I'm losing the leading character, the leading zero there. But a lot of times data is not great. So sometimes it's better just to get it, look at it, and then decide what you're going to do as far as splitting the data out. So I'll just show you that real quick with the zip code. If we were to keep that as a text. So if I go, so I just undid everything. I go text column, delimited, pipe's already selected, and I go find this zip code, and next would probably help. I go find the zip code, and I click on text, and then I hit finish. You can now see, based on the little, it's almost like the comment, the green thing, formatting, that this is now a text field. So this is keeping the leading zeros, which is nice. So again, sometimes it takes a little bit backwards and forwards till you get it right. And then sometimes you need to use other functions within Excel to get the data into the format that you want it to be in.